Hello there. My name is Logan, but you can call me Copycat99. And today I thought I'd go over the Trilogy format that FFG recently announced, kind of soft announced. Put out an article on their website. I'll probably remember to put that in the description because it goes into a little bit more detail than I will. Um, but yeah, I thought I'd explain what it is for if you haven't seen what the format is, and then I showed two example lineups of decks for this kind of format. That's not it. There we go. Okay. So what is it? And I'm blocking a little bit of this here. Let's go up here. It's a new format for Star Wars Unlimited. Each player brings 3 decks to the match. You have to build 3 decks. Then you go to your local game store and you play some games with all of those decks at once. Normal deck building rules apply across all 3 decks. So you can only have 3 Ruthless Raider in some combination across all 3 decks. So if one deck has 3 Ruthless Raider, you cannot include it in any of the other 2 decks at all. If you play 2 Ruthless Raider in one deck, you can put 1 Ruthless Raider in another deck. You can put 1 Ruthless Raider in all 3 of your decks. But you just cannot exceed 3 copies across all 3 decks. So that adds an interesting limitation that makes especially repeating colors a lot more difficult, because you'd have to split staples or decide which deck gets the better staple. Additionally, each deck must have a unique leader and base. No running 3 Sabine ECLs with worse cards in 2 of the decks. Yeah, so again, encouraging deck diversity is really nice. It makes it a lot more interesting where a player has to master 3 pretty different, probably unique decks, compared to just playing 3 of the same deck with different leaders. So yeah, that's nice. Each match consists of 2 phases, the ban phase and the gameplay phase. At the start of the match, you begin with the ban phase. Both you and your opponent choose one deck that the opponent has, and you ban it. And it's God for the match. So if you don't want to play against Sabine ECL ever, like whenever they bring Sabine ECL to the table, you just ban it. There's some strategic thinking of like, what deck are all 3 of my decks worst into? What deck? I don't know. You can also do some strategic thinking of like, don't put like if I bring Django Tarkin down, which I'll discuss in a second when I talk about the ban list applications. If I brought that deck, like people are probably gonna lean towards banning that deck, so I can maybe put not put all the staples, put the worst cards if I have conflicts in that deck to hedge if I think people will ban that deck every match. So there is a lot of strategic thinking that goes into what deck you need to ban to make it most likely that you win the match, and also what deck your opponent is going to ban so you can minimize how much that hurts your total lineup. After the ban phase, both players choose one deck to begin the match with. Once a deck wins a game, the deck is set aside for the rest of the match. So, and then if you lose a game, you have the choice of your 2 unbanned decks for the next game. Matches are best of 3 continuing until one player has won with both of their unbanned decks. So you have to win with both your decks, excluding the banned one. Once you win with a deck, that deck is out. Like, you have to play the other deck. If you lose, you have the option to switch or stay, depending on what your opponent last deck is. Because you will, at the start of the match, they reveal leader-based combination for the banning, so you know what your opponent has. It's open information, so you can make an informed decision on whether you should switch or stay on the deck you just played and lost with. With all that out of the way, here is a super sweaty sample lineup. I apologize for the visuals. It's not great. I know the cards are really tiny. It's hard to fit 3 decks on one screen in a nice clean deck image format. I will make sure to link the decks in the description so you can look at them on SweetieB and actually see them a little bit bigger, or see them in list form if you prefer that. But I'll go into some of my thinking about this deck. So first off, Django and Boba are both busted. They're suspended for a reason. Trilogy currently uses its own suspended list, so and nothing is on it currently. They decided to not pre-ban anything. So, and it is also an eternal format, so it'll see you can play all the cards that are legal for forever. So obviously Django and Boba are very strong and are suspended for a reason, so they're probably pretty good. So that is the basis of like the majority of the picks of this thing was how can we support Boba and Django at the same time without causing any conflict? And so I settled on Django Tarkintown because that's his best build, and then Boba Data Vault with no Surprise Strike essentially. I don't even know if Surprise Strike is like that great in Boba Data Vault, but it's not in there because it's in Django and we can't share cards. But other than that, Django is a aggro tempo-y deck. Boba is a mid-range deck, and then to supplement that for the third deck, I decided on Boss Blue as a control deck. It's especially good at punishing Boba, like turning off Boba's ability, and hard control is like really harder to punish without a sideboard. A lot of decks board in like Palps Return Relentless to try and handle it, and they don't have that option because there's also no sideboarding in this format since you're essentially playing best of ones just with 3 decks at your disposal instead of 1. So yeah, it seemed hard to punish, and it seemed like it preyed on other Boba decks. So it's a nice complement to these other 2 decks. I generally expect Django to get banned. Django feels like the most obviously powerful deck. TDR, War Juggernaut, Exhaust Their Whole Board is a really, really strong ability. So that would leave you to win with Boba Data Vault and Boss Blue. If other people are playing the sweaty stuff, you probably try to beat their Boba with Bosk and then beat their other deck with Boba Data Vault. That's probably the ideal scenario. Or you win the Boba Mirror. Boba Mirror is probably obnoxious. It's a lot about who draws armor, mainly. So yeah, some deck building things that I considered. We are playing Data Vault with Boba, so because 3 extra health is really nice. So I opted for the full 3 commission, in addition to the Crumb and Grados as 1-drops, to dig for armor, primarily. It searches top 10 for an item, transport, or bounty hunter. Item is like the key target, and Contract Jumpmaster is a transport, I believe, and then we've got a handful of bounty hunters. Bleh. Greedo, Boba Fett, Orasang, Cad Bane, Zuckuss, Bosk, Forlom, Mal's not one. So it's got a pretty good hit rate, and that helps with the Data Vault downside of not drawing armor as often. Boss Blue is pretty traditional. The main thing is mainboarding the bombing runs instead of sideboarding them. There's no sideboard, which means you don't have time to hedge against Vader Yell. I think Vader Yell will be a pretty good deck in Trilogy as well because it is a lot harder to answer without a sideboard. Like a lot of decks lose game 1 and then board in the really powerful tech and beat it game 2 and game 3. So I opted to hedge a little bit there and include the bombing runs in the main. Other than that, it's about standard. You just kill everything they play and slam a crate and win the game probably. It's just really powerful to bring a hard control deck when Boba's in the format. Boba really likes untapping resources when he kills your stuff, and if you play 0 units, then he does not get to untap his stuff, like A Tale as Old as Set 1. That's why Item Blue got developed by a great competitive player, because, yeah, it's really funny that you can just blank your opponent's leader ability by playing no units. And Django Tarkintown, also pretty standard. I don't... Like, this is, like, a pretty cookie-cutter list. I think... I didn't even build this myself. I think I just stole it. That's why you can see there's a sideboard there, even though there's no sideboarding in Trilogy. I forgot to delete that. My apologies. But, like, it's just TDR, War Juggernaut, and Devastator, and hit them for $1 billion. Like, that's been in forever. I don't... Like, I obviously... I haven't played any real games with this. This is all theory. So, the lists aren't, like, the most refined they can be. They don't take into consideration some of the things that change from Premiere to Trilogy. So that these lists definitely could shift. But this was just my first pass of like, if I was going to like a 10K like or something, some insane cash tournament, and I wanted to win the whole thing, and the format was Trilogy, I would probably bring these 3 decks. They complement each other really well, and they help make banning decisions difficult on your opponent, and they obviously play really vested cards. So if I'm playing it more casually, this would be my approach. This is the fun. So these are decks that I have enjoyed. These have been some of my favorite decks in the game. These are 3 of my favorite leaders that they've printed. So this is more of a casual approach, like casual and fun in quotes, because these are really strong decks still. But they're here because I enjoy playing them more than so I don't care if I'm winning as much. Han Yellow, again, no suspended list, so DJ is legal. That it's really awful, that interaction, but it is legal currently, so I'm gonna play it. I really enjoyed Han Yellow. It's a really fascinating tempo deck that just like with DJ and Tech, it had such a weird late game. Like it had a really robustly powerful late game for a tempo deck, including the 7s. So like it could grind out control decks like pretty easily. Which was really fascinating, and it made playing the deck, like piloting the deck, so interesting. It felt like you just had tools in every matchup, and you could manipulate the board and your resources in a way that you just blew every opponent out eventually. So that was, I played that deck in set 2 and set 3, I believe. For the most part, DJ was printed in set 2, so that was what really made that deck hum. And then, obviously, DJ got suspended on release of set 4, so I switched to Hantu Data. Well, I played some other, like, weird stuff in the interim. I tried Hard Control again because DJ was banned, but I was still getting beat up, so I ended up not on Hard Control. But then I discovered Hantu Data Vault, and I got pretty addicted. I've been playing it all set. It's a fun deck. Like it does really powerful things, but it really is just fun to just be like, I'm slamming a really powerful dude every turn. Like Han ability is like semi-ramping me. Like it's just great. This list is like really close to what I've been playing at like Planetary Qualifiers and stuff. Obviously, Trilogy is not going to be fully put into effect, like it's not going to be in the comprehensive rules or anything until set 5, Legends of Force releases. So I've got some Legends of Force cards in there I'm testing. Grogu is obviously insane with Hantu. Like, what a buff to Hantu decks. Holy crap. I think I spoke my praises enough in the set review video. If you haven't seen that, go watch that. But and then Kelleran back. Kelleran is just like a really strong late game piece. Like he's a 7-cost 7/7 that pulls Grogu, which is almost enough on his own. But like he scales the longer the game goes. Like I've Kelleraned in a Crate Dragon before in a test game, and it's pretty gross when the game goes that late, and you can just be like, yep, I played 17/17 worth of stats across 2 bodies, so you can't even power the dark side me, and I have a Crate Dragon play. Like, sorry, you probably die. Yeah, those were the headrunners that, or headliners that made the cut at first glance in the Hantu deck without switching to a Force Base, which I didn't really like to do. I like all 3 ofs in the Data Vault context. I like the extra HP Data Vault gives me, so if Data Vault is still like good enough, I'm probably gonna maintain on Data Vault, which I think it will be. And then last deck here is Kylo Data Vault. Again, similar premise. Han is a tempo deck. Hantu is a mid-range deck. I thought you should probably supplement it with a control deck to help make your matchups as well-rounded as possible. So I decided on Kylo. Like, this could absolutely be Kira. I just personally like Kylo more. I enjoy playing Kylo more. It is really addicting to deploy a really, really big Sentinel leader and kill your opponent in 3 attacks. Like, Kira can't do that. Particularly, this green build is built around Palps returning Snoke early, being able to discard Snoke on 6 resources to the Kylo ability, and then Palps return to get the Snoke right back. Sure, you spend 2 cards, but you get a Snoke on 6 resources, which is pretty busted. And then the other thing is Rey and Jedi Lightsaber are both heroism cards that can turn on full power Anakin, getting -6/-6 instead of -3/-3, which is pretty wild for stabilizing on 6 resources. Sometimes you even play the Jedi Lightsabers on Kylo because it's like 5 resources is like fine. It's not super exciting for that effect, but it's got good stats. It's got a good ability. Like sometimes it's worth paying that aspect penalty for it. Rey, obviously, her text lets you ignore her aspect penalty since you control Kylo as a leader, so she's just always on color in this deck. And sometimes she sticks until Kylo at a point starts healing him, giving him shield, and then you're probably winning that game if that happens, but it doesn't happen every game. The rest of the deck is like primarily upgrades. Bolster Endurance is another like personal favorite of mine in Kylo decks. Being 1 cost +1/+3 is really efficient. And Sentinel Leader really enjoys having a buff to HP. Electro Staff and Kylo's Ren Lightsaber are just good text on good stats. And Craving Power, obviously being able to just nuke something on enter is pretty strong. I'm just realizing I didn't put Barrage on this list. I maybe should be on Barrage. If you cast Super Laser for Blast, or Super Laser Blast for Barrage, I would not blame you. Blast kills your own Kylo sometimes, which is annoying. It's good if they kill your Kylo, but ideally that doesn't happen. But yeah, those are my list. Like, if I was going to a tournament tomorrow and there are no stakes, I would play these 3 decks. I would not play Boba Jango. What was the 3rd deck? Boss Blue. That sounds really unfun for my opponent to play against, to be honest. Like if stakes are on the line, I understand it. Like, but it's FFG has stated that it's supposed to be a casual format, at least to start. If it gets super popular, they'll consider maybe making it a competitive thing. But so I'd bring the casual decks. I'd bring the decks I enjoy to play. I'm probably getting Han Yellow banned every time because no one wants to get DJ'd, and then I get to play 2 other decks I enjoy. So it's fine with me. Yeah, I think that's all I've got. This was a brief introduction to Trilogy and I showed some deck, the philosophies that go behind deck building when you have to build 3 and you have to well run matchups. You have to think about the weaknesses of your other decks. You have to think about what other people can be playing in the ban strategy, etc., etc. There's a lot going into it. I think this format has a lot of potential. I really like multi-deck formats in card games. So I'm excited to try it. We'll see if I can get the locals to do it tonight or something. But yeah, thank you for watching. If you like this kind of content, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. It helps me out. It helps grow the channel, and it makes YouTube like me more. So yeah, I will see you in the next video.